Hi there, so I'm leaving a very late video response, ridiculously late video response to Spammer's Germ. It's a cool guy, goes to him, he does some really good reviews of foreign horror cinema and stuff. Wanted to basically talk about what is genuine horror to you. For me, it's different from the next person. It's different for everyone. I hope you approve this video response, by the way, because I'm, in partial agreement with what you're saying, and in many ways, but at the same time, you have to understand certain films like the original Halloween, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Evil Dead, which you mentioned. At the time, those directors did, in fact, have a lot of respect for the horror genre. They genuinely wanted to scare people, and they did. And they, maybe not so much Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff, but people kind of these days, Monday horror films, say for example foreign horror films and stuff. The good horror directors in the US, one seem to have kind of weaned out a bit. You get people like Eli Roth and Rob Zombie and those people. They don't. Yeah, it's the industry. Hollywood has changed, and when I saw Evil Dead when I was a kid, and a couple of other films, Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, and they did really scare me. But the problem is, and really get under my skin. But the problem is the overexposure, the pop culture that comes along with it, stuff like that. The fact that the production company realizes it's made a lot of money, so they want to make sequels. And in the case of Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger ended up becoming a parody of himself. So he just wasn't scary anymore. And you go back and watch the original, and that's not as scary as it used to be. And it pissed off Wes Craven, because he did really put a lot of effort into wanting to scare people. Sam Raimi kind of did a lot of hard work on Evil Dead, wanted to really scare people, and when I saw that as a kid I was scared. But again, it's the overexposure of it. Sam Raimi's become a bit of a snob. He's made the Spider-Man films and all that stuff, and it's he kind of mixes it up with comedy, like Dragging Me to Hell, which is popcorn horror, like you say. That is popcorn horror. That kind of thing. The type of thing that people are getting really, getting in their knickers in this twist over about stuff these days, which is why I don't take professional critics seriously, because at the time when the films come out, their reaction is sort of like, this film is disgusting, it should be banned, what an absolute disgrace, and then 10 or 20 years later, when it's gained its place in history, like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're like, this film is an absolute masterpiece. This was, pretty much the start of a new genre and stuff like that. Which is why, by the way, I really don't like Mark Kermode for that reason, because, he's a douchebag. He said that Blue Velvet offended him. He claims to be a fan of horror. Yeah, he walked out of the screening of Blue Velvet because he said it was too much for him. what a worse, you know. I mean, what does he think he's like a big horror fan because The Exorcist is his all-time favorite horror film? You know, no, it's not like that. Kim Newman, who works for Empire magazine, is the best, in my opinion, British horror director, British horror critic, because you know, he leaves all his kind of political correctness at the door and everything, which is what you should do when watching a horror film. You should go in with an open mind, I think, and then, you know, give it a go, and then sort of, do you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, you know, I mean, these 80s horror slashers at the time, they were scary. You know, like Friday the 13th at the time was scary. It did disturb a lot of people when it came out of the cinema. But, you know, like I said, horror cinema has changed. You know, it changes a great deal. Horror is probably a genre that changes along with the times more than anything else that I can think of. You know, it goes round in circles. I mean, you know, like with Japanese extreme cinema and, you know, French extreme cinema and new wave cinema and stuff like that. They're kind of doing similar things that, and even American cinema, underground independent cinema, like August Underground films and stuff like that. They're kind of taking it back to the way it used to be, where it was kind of like you'd be ashamed of saying that, you know, you really like this horror. You know, do you know what I mean? This is genuine horror, and you know, but basically a lot of the times it's like people basically are like, you know, what an offensive piece of trash. You know, yeah. But genuine horror to me is something that's hard for me to put my finger on. Supernatural horror films don't work anymore because people are very skeptical about those things. You know, people like Derren Brown, you know, kind of, which another guy I don't particularly like, for the reasons of, you know, basically, you know, saying, look, you know, this is how magicians do this particular thing. You know, like he fools people into, you know, like showing them a magic trick, and at the same time shows them how it's done, but at the same time makes a heck of a lot more money, probably more than those other magicians did, you know. So it's just a two-way, you know, it's just a double-edged sword. What this has to do with what I find to be genuine horror, I don't know, because I don't quite know what genuine horror is, because it'll change. It just keeps changing, like it did from say the 50s to the 60s to the 70s to the 80s. You know, I mean, films such as, you know, Night of the Hunter, you know, and films like Psycho. The critics were like going apeshit over it and saying that it was disgusting and degrading and just horrifying, and people nowadays that saying that it's a classic, and those same critics like Roger Ebert are basically saying, you know, that it's a masterpiece, when at the time they would have been all, you know, butthurt about them because they claimed to be misogynistic and stuff. So I'm kind of rambling, and I don't know if this has got anything to do with the topic or the issue, but I'm trying to keep an open mind about it, because, you know, with modern horror I try and, you know, find similar things that give me the same adrenaline rush that used to give me. You know, those films don't give me an adrenaline rush anymore, and I know why they don't give me an adrenaline rush. Because of the pop culture history and the fact that, you know, you get these toys made out of them and stuff, trying to profit over them and making all these sequels and franchises and whatnot, you know. That's why they're not as scary. And the same thing with Jaws. Jeez, that scared the hell out of me. I mean, that's still a brilliant horror film. I mean, you know, you can't knock Jaws as a horror film. It's a classic horror film. You know, it scared people into going into the sea again. That's how much it affected people at the time. You know, and I would long to to go back to those days again, but you can't. So what else have we got? Kind of difficult. So I'm going to cut this short, and I don't know if this adds to your, what I find to be genuine horror or not, because I don't quite know what is genuine horror. I mean, like you said, it's something that makes you feel dirty afterwards, than something like you shouldn't be watching. You shouldn't be watching, but at the same time, those films of which you speak had that effect on people at one time. It just changes things. The horror genre just changes. I mean, I'm glad that horror's kind of going back underground again. For the particular people. So that's about it. Jesus, man, I'm rambling. I'm just rambling big time. I don't even know if I'm making any sense. So that's it. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.